When the going gets tough and the fight is taken to the next level, the Power Rangers call upon their fleet of fighting machines known as Zords and combine them into the mighty and powerful Megazord to take down giant monsters and save the day, with some collateral damage in the process. Hello everybody, I am Sentai 5 and welcome to the first installment of Megazord Formation. Welcome to Megazord Formation, where I'll be doing a breakdown of all the Megazords in the Power Rangers franchise, including and not limited to the comics and other media. Some videos may focus on a single Zord that helps create a formation, and that's fine because it still fits within the scope of what I'm trying to do here. I will also be including Sentai exclusive robos here as well when the time comes. This is something I've wanted to do for some time. I surprisingly haven't seen too many videos on this sort of idea, which is unfortunate because I know there are many Megazord and Super Sentai Robo enthusiasts out there, so I wanted to do my own version of this and deliver hopefully some quality content about one of the biggest staples of what makes Power Rangers and Super Sentai, aside from their core themes and ideas. I'm going to try to do a video every month on this, which should be a fun challenge because this is a very ambitious project. So it all comes down to the time needed to find all the info and media, as well as recording and editing all together. But I hope you all enjoy this and hope you would all like to see a lot more in the future. Before we begin, we need to start where it truly began and give a huge shout out to Leopardon from Toei's Spider-Man, the first of its kind, and without it we wouldn't have Super Sentai Robos nor Megazords. I'll be doing a video on it sometime in the future, so look forward to that. So let's get into it. Throughout its 30-year history, the Power Rangers have had such a variety of Zords, ranging from animals, vehicles, hybrids, spaceships, and even becoming their own Zords. But it all started with the Dinozords. No, not those. Even though they are canonically the first Dinozords, but we'll get into that when the time comes. The Dinozords were the first set of Zords that belonged to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Despite the name, only 2 of them are actual dinosaurs, while the other 3 are not. To this day, this set of Zords remains the most iconic to many fans around the world. The Megazord, alternatively known as the Dino Megazord, is comprised of the Mastodon, Pterodactyl, Triceratops, Saber-toothed Tiger, and Tyrannosaurus Dinozords, each respectively belonging to the Black, Pink, Blue, Yellow, and Red Rangers. So let's talk about the Zords themselves. Just a heads up, I'll be using information found from the Zyuranger Scans, Zord Ascension Project website, and Megazord Collector Bio cards that were in the original toy line to compare stats. This is just for informational purposes, and in the grand scheme of things, you'll see how inconsistent and meaningless the stats truly are. The Mastodon Dinozord stands at a height of 15 meters, which is 49.2 feet. The length is 24.7 meters, which is 81 feet, and weighs 108 tons. Its speed is 120 kilometers per hour, which is 74.6 miles per hour. The Zord Ascension Project site lists the height at 88.6 feet and its weight at 119.1 tons. It can fire cold air from its trunk, freezing its enemies. When summoned by the Black Ranger, it appears from the Arctic, ready for battle. In Zyuranger, it was known as Guardian Beast Mammoth, and not actually a mastodon if you can tell by the name. The Pterodactyl Dinozord has a length of 21 meters, which is 68.9 feet, a wingspan of 25.5 meters, which is 83.7 feet, weighs 84 tons, and has a speed of Mach 2.5. The Zap site lists the weight at 99.6 tons. It is the only Dinozord of the original Power Team that specializes in air combat. Both sides of its body can fire 2 lightning bolts at its enemies. When summoned by the Pink Ranger, it takes flight into battle from an erupting volcano, which one would have to assume was man-made by Zordon and Alpha for the amount of times it flew from there and rested. In Zyuranger, it was called Guardian Beast Pteranodon. The Triceratops Dinozord has a length of 37.3 meters, which is 122.4 feet, a height of 11 meters, which is 36.1 feet, a weight of 141 tons, and a speed of 140 kilometers per hour, which is 87 miles per hour. The Zap site lists the weight at 155.4 tons. On its tail are twin cannons, and when raised up, can fire lasers at its enemies. Its horns could also fire and act as chains to hold monsters in place. When summoned by the Blue Ranger, the Triceratops Dinozord rolls through a desert with its fast treads, racing into action. In Zyuranger, it was called Guardian Beast Triceratops. The Saber-toothed Tiger Dinozord has a length of 37.3 meters, which is 122.4 feet, matching the Triceratops dinosaur. It has a height of 13.3 meters, which is 43.6 feet. It has a weight of 141 tons, also matching the Triceratops, although the Zap site lists it at 155.4 tons. It also has a speed of 150 kilometers per hour, which is 93.2 miles per hour, although it's unknown if that is with or without the use of the wheels on its legs. Like the Triceratops dinosaur, it has a cannon on its tail, and when raised up can fire a singular laser at its enemies. When summoned by the Yellow Ranger, it leaps over a jungle, running into battle. In Zyuranger, it was called Guardian Beast Saber Tiger. The Tyrannosaurus Dinozord stands at a height of 27 meters, which is 88.6 feet, a length of 45 meters, which is 147.6 feet, a width of 34.5 meters, which is 113.2 feet, and weighs 96 tons. The Zap site lists the weight at 105.8 tons. It has a speed of 120 kilometers per hour, which is 74.6 miles per hour, which would match the Mastodon's speed. The Tyrannosaurus dinosaur can create seismic waves from its powerful roar when fighting alone against monsters. It can also use its tail in close combat for both maneuverability, balance, and as a weapon. When summoned by the Red Ranger, it mightily rises from the depths of the earth, ready for action. In Zyuranger, it was known as Guardian Beast Tyrannosaurus. Individually, the dinosaurs have been shown to be more versatile in the Boom Studios comics than the show. This is obviously due to not having any kind of budget constraints and the freedom to do virtually anything. But as the formula goes, fighting individually is never enough in most cases. The team must bring their Zords together to become the absolute pinnacle of teamwork, which brings us to the Megazord Sequence. The Rangers use their power coins to create the power crystals in order to act as a joystick to control and combine the Dinozords. The first mode is Tank Mode, which, as the name suggests, is when all 5 of the Dinozords combine and initiate the first step of the Megazord sequence, thus forming a dinosaur tank. In Zyuranger, this was known as Dino Tanker. The Tyrannosaurus is the main body. Saber-toothed Tiger and Triceratops form the right and left legs, which attach to the front of the tank, where their treads and wheels are used to move the colossal machine. Mastodon's body wraps around the sides of Tyrannosaurus, with its head attaching to the front. And finally, the pterodactyl rests on top of the Tyrannosaurus. While not necessarily able to hold its own for the entirety of battle, Tank Mode can sure pack a punch. The cannons form on the Mastodon arms and can fire powerful blasts, and all of the Dinozords' eyes can fire colored lightning beams at their enemies. The Megazord Tank Mode has a length of 52 meters, which is 170.6 feet, a height of 24 meters, which is 78.7 feet, and a weight of 570 tons, while the Zap site lists the weight at 628 tons. It has a speed of 300 kilometers per hour, which is 186.4 miles per hour. When it's time to get even more serious, the Megazord Tank Mode comes to a stop, and the Rangers activate Megazord Battle Mode as the computer shouts, "Megazord Sequence has been initiated." The Mastodon feet flip in to reveal the fists, and the Megazord rises up. The Tyrannosaurus head flips down to reveal the Megazord head as the pterodactyl swoops in and forms the chest plate. Finally, the horns fold out, and with a flash of lightning and energy, the Megazord Battle Mode is formed, with the computer shouting, "Megazord activated." Alternatively, due to the Drew 2 footage, the Megazord has a new sequence where the arms and chest form before rising up. The Megazord stands at a height of 41.7 meters, which is 136.8 feet, and still maintains its weight from Tank Mode. Ironically, the Megazord Collector Bio Card, from the original toy line packaging, lists the Megazord at a height of 333 feet, 172,000 pounds, which is 86 tons, and a power of 50,000 megavolts. As I mentioned before, you could see how inconsistent the stats are, coming from different sources. If I had to choose, I'd probably just go with the Zyuranger stats because that's where it originated from and that's where the footage is coming from, so it's probably easier that way. The Megazord has an array of weapons and features. For starters, it specializes in hand-to-hand combat. Its main weapon, the Power Sword, descends from the sky and supplies the Megazord with extra power by initiating its final attack, which has a few variations throughout the course of the first season. It can also act as an energy boost, as seen in Green with Evil Part 4. The Megazord Collector Bio Card lists the Power Sword being made of titanium. The Mastodon's head acts as a shield when in need, ironically called the Mammoth Shield, deflecting enemy blasts. The Megazord can shoot a cranial laser to defeat a monster. It also has eye beams that can remove acid, and also can fire the cannons from its back against its enemies. The Megazord has been shown to prove adaptable to different environments, whether it's land, sea, or even in the snow. It just doesn't do well during an eclipse, as seen in Green with Evil Part 4. This is due to the Zords relying on the sun for most of its power. When an eclipse occurs, the Megazord is at a severe disadvantage, as it starts losing power fast. The Megazord would eventually combine with the Green Ranger's Dragonzord to form one of two modes: the Dragonzord in Fighting Mode, alternatively called Dragonzord Battle Mode, and the Mega Dragonzord, which will both be covered in my Dragonzord video next time. The Dinozords have a backup re-energizing system that takes about 12 hours to be at full power again. This system was implemented as a security measure when the Zords were about to lose in battle, forcing them to disassemble and return to their hiding places. It's assumed they return via teleportation due to how they dissolve in thin air. The design of the Megazord was created by legendary designer Tsuyoshi Nonaka. His design was inspired by Voltron, and the tank mode was inspired by Daitetsujin 1-7. Its design was considered a game changer for Super Sentai at the time, using a motif of mechanical dinosaurs and prehistoric beasts, as opposed to vehicles and vehicles designed to look like animals. Even the toy was a game changer, but we'll get to that in the merchandise portion of this video. In addition to this, alternate concepts were drawn, including a Daijujin with an alternate head, which I believe was designed by legendary designer Katsushi Murakami, which I personally like a lot. In addition to this, a whole new updated set of Dinozords were redesigned to specifically combine with the redesigned White Tiger Zord in 1994. These concepts look amazing in my opinion and always make me wonder what could have been. The cockpits were reused from the previous year's Sentai series, Chojin Sentai Jetman. I personally have no problem with it, and especially if you started out watching PR first, you wouldn't even know. Each cockpit is located in the heads of their respective Zords. They also have a console with their helmet and power coin logos, with black controls that fit the Rangers' hands in order to move their Zords in battle. The Megazord cockpit seats all 5, eventually 6 Rangers, and is located in the head, also reused from Jetman. The combined Dino Coin logo is behind the Rangers in a red background. Red Ranger sits in the center, while black and pink sit on the left and blue and yellow sit on the right. There's a commonly known production error from when the Megazord stands up for battle mode. We get a view from the back of the cockpit and see yellow and pink are on the wrong side, as well as being swapped in the wrong positions, with black and blue who are ironically on the correct side. The Zords have the first letter of their names on them, some more stylized than others, which kind of makes it unnoticeable at first glance, but as always, it's a very welcome, clever addition when actually looking. Initially, Zyuranger was going to be called Kyoryu Sentai Saurus Man, and we would have gotten a black Brachiosaurus, green Triceratops, yellow Stegosaurus, and blue Pteranodon, with Mammoth being a secondary mecha. I would have loved to see how that would have turned out. Now that the technical stuff is out of the way, let's move on to the Dinozord lore. As iconic as they are, these mechanical machines have a complicated in-universe origin. There's quite a few possibilities on the origins given what we know. They could be assumed to be created by Zordon and Alpha sometime after his time warp entrapment, maybe possibly before, but it isn't outright stated. One could also assume Ninjor originally created them, as he was the one who forged the power coins to begin with, and we've seen in Ninja Quest that he's capable of creating Zords by himself. Eventually, with the threat of Lord Zed, the Zords were rendered obsolete and had to be powered up into the Thunder Zords, which were eventually destroyed by Rita Repulsa's brother, Rito Revolto. By the year 2020, the Zords were rebuilt by someone or something just in time for the events of Grid Connection to take on Evox's Chimera Zord. In the original unaired pilot, the Zords were called Droids, and the Megazord was called the Mega Dino Droid.
Trini and Saber Droid, coming at ya! Billy and the Tricera Droid, all systems go! Yo, this is Zach. Me and my Master Droid are right on target.
I'm activating the Mega Dino Droid.
Mega Dino Droid transformation has been initiated. Mega Dino Droid activated.
In the aired version of the original pilot, played in the Lost Episode special hosted by Austin St. John and Walter Jones, they had Zords replacing droids, probably because of Star Wars rights. I mean, clearly these weren't the droids they were looking for.
Pretty near ready to rock, coming at ya!
Activating Megazord Battle Mode.
Megazord Sequence has been initiated.
In Zyuranger, the Dinozords were known as the Guardian Beasts, 5 gods that were guardians of each of the Zyuranger's tribes back in prehistoric times. Together they formed Daijujin, who was the ruler god, and also sentient, regularly communicating if needed. Eventually, when the Zyurangers sealed up Bandora's gang, the Guardian Beasts went up to heaven where they resided with the team, until they would return during some of Earth's darkest hours over the decades, mainly appearing in team-ups. These appearances would be Super Sentai World, Gao Ranger vs Super Sentai, Gokaiger Goseiger Super Sentai 199 Hero Battle, Go Busters vs Gokaiger, Superhero Taisen Z, Kyoryuger vs Go Busters, Zyuohger vs Ninja, and Superhero Senki. Daijujin was voiced by Eiji Maruyama and portrayed by legendary suit actor Hideki Kusaka, who has had a very extensive, consistent history portraying all of the main Sentai robos from Denji Man up until his retirement in Lupin Ranger vs Pat Ranger. He's going to be mentioned a whole lot throughout my series of videos. Guardian Beast Tyrannosaurus was the first mecha component in Sentai to require a suit actor, who was portrayed by veteran suit actor Hirofumi Ishigaki. Before this, the mecha were always miniature models before becoming the robot, which regularly had a suit actor. As of November 2022, the filming models of the Dinozords were seen at the Attack, which stands for Anime Tokusatsu Archive Center in Tsukugawa, Japan. In recent years, the Daijujin suit was displayed at New York Toy Fair in 2019. Current whereabouts beyond that are assumed to be back in Japan because it was used in 2021 for filming of Zenkaiger when Stacy's summoned it along with a plethora of Super Sentai robos throughout the years. And speaking of Zenkaiger, one of the members of the team, Juren, has his ranger powers based on Daijujin itself, in accordance to all the homages to what the show does. Eventually I'll review the Zenkaiger mecha when the time comes, but the series has a lot of Zyuranger homages in design. Also in Don Brothers, the monsters of the week called the Hitotsuki are all based on different Sentai. The Zyuranger themed Hitotsuki named Kyoryuki has the fossils of the Core 5 Guardian Beasts, and the giant-sized Hitotsu King version called Kyoryu King is based specifically on Guardian Beast Tyrannosaurus. Some notable battles of the Megazord are Dave the Dumpster, where it debuted, a pressing engagement where it took on both Goldar and King Sphinx, Green with Evil Part 1, where the Green Ranger kicked the Rangers out of the cockpit, Green with Evil Part 4, where the eclipse occurred and the Megazord was defeated for the very first time, the fight against Cyclopsis in Doomsday, the battle against the Mighty Morphin Mutants, its underwater battle in Oyster Stew, and the last hoorah in the Season 2 premiere, The Mutiny, where they were frozen, used against the Rangers, and Zed sinking them back into the Earth before they would be powered up into the Thunderzords. And finally the Zord fight in Grid Connection, where it made its return and teamed up with its dinosaur successors. So now let's move on to the merchandise part of this video. Huge warning before we get started, and I apologize in advance. This portion is very extensive, so pause this, grab some food and drinks, and then come back and relax, because we're gonna be here for a while, so I'm sorry again, just please bear with me. The original Megazord has had a plethora of merchandise in its 30-year history. This is ranging from both Power Rangers and Super Sentai, and most of it is from within the last decade or so. Starting off, we have the original deluxe releases. Daijujin was released in 1992, while the Megazord was released in 1993. They used the same mold but had some sticker differences. They also had a black and gold special edition release for both. Fun fact, the deluxe Megazord was also used for the Thunderzord morphing sequence, which was nice. Daijujin's release was a game changer at the time because of how it was mostly made of plastic, compared to Sentai robos of the past having die-cast parts, hence always being referred to as Deluxe Chogokin. In addition to that, there was a special sized version for both lines, where only the Triceratops and Sabretooth could detach, as it was a more budget-friendly version and also had fist-firing action, and came with both weapons. Also during Zyuranger's run was the Sentai Robo Chogokin collection, that also had a gold release in 1993. During Zyuranger's run there was also a rare gold-plated Daijujin Televikun exclusive, where only 10 people won it. 1994 saw the release of the Dinozords and Megazord in various Micro Machines sets, including a repaint. That same year, a remote control Megazord was released by Marchon. Also that year saw the release of the Megazord plastic model kit and Rosart's 3D Megazord. Kinder also had their own Dinozord minifigures in their chocolates as well. Around 1998 was the release of the Super Sentai Robo Figures keychains, and Daijujin was part of that line. I only say 1998 because Gingayo was the recent robot in that line. 1999 would bring the re-release of the special-sized Megazord to coincide with the Power Playback reruns on Fox Kids at the time. In 2004, the Advanced Super Sentai World Gashapon line released a stylized Daijujin figure, which is one of my favorites. 2009 would see the release of the Super Legends Retrofire line, which were stylized action figure versions of various Megazords. Personally, one of my favorite lines as well. With it came the Megazord as one of the releases, which in this case was called the Mighty Morphin Megazord. 2010 saw the release of a brand new Mighty Morphin Power Rangers toy line to coincide with the very odd reversioning of Season 1, airing at the time. The Megazord was given its alternate name, Dino Megazord. This version had a brand new mold that would eventually kick off the Zord Builder line, although not officially named Zord Builder until a few years later, allowing it to combine with vehicles and Zords from other future seasons going forward. Unlike its original 90s release, this was completely plastic and had no chrome parts. Also in the toy line was the Mix and Morph Dino Megazord and what was supposed to be release of the Retrofire but was cancelled. Later in the line was the IR Air Attack Megazord and a stylized minifigure. Also another figure of the Dino Megazord released in the Adventure set as well. 2011 brought the release of the Joint Gatai series for the Gokaiger toy line, and with it came the release for Daijuji. A little similar to the Zord Builder, this would also allow it to combine with other Sentai Robos, but only the ones that were released in the line, which unfortunately were only 6 other ones aside from this one. 2012 had the Super Robot Chogokin Daijujin, which was an action figure sized, highly detailed and articulated action figure. 2013 brought the re-release of the Dino Megazord from the MMPR 2010 line, but with chrome parts and a better paint job, known as the Legacy Megazord, part of Bandai's 20th anniversary Legacy line. In Japan, a Daijujin Ranger Key was released that year in the Ranger Key Set Movie Edition to coincide with its appearance in Go Busters vs. Gokaiger. In 2015, the Legacy Megazord was re-released along with a special edition black and gold repaint. Later that year, Fisher-Price's Imaginext did their own line of Power Rangers figures, which included the Megazord in both a minifigure and a Morphin Megazord playset, which had a repaint that looked very similar to the Micro Machines repaint in the 90s. In 2016, Bandai of America released the Legacy action figure line, where the Megazord was a Build-A-Figure. Its Power Sword was only available in the San Diego Comic-Con Red Ranger set, and Power Morphicon 2016 had a black and gold repaint of the figure. Also that year was the Gigantic Series Daijujin figure. New York Comic-Con had an exclusive Tokyo Pop vinyl of the Megazord, which would also see re-releases in later years. In 2017, Bandai released a Soul of Chogokin version that had die-cast parts and an overall look trying to resemble the filming models as best as possible. Later that year, Funko released their Megazord Pops, and in 2018 saw more variants of it, such as the special edition black and gold, metallic version, and glow-in-the-dark. Later this year, New York Comic Con re-released a repaint of the Tokyo Vinyl Megazord. Also that year, Bandai Japan released the Super Mini Pla Daijujin, which was a higher quality plastic model kit, eventually kicking off a bunch of other Super Sentai Robos to follow in the coming years before being rebranded into the SMP line, which stands for the Shokugan Modeling Project. This also had an American release in its first run. Finally, 2017 saw the reboot movie of Power Rangers, and with it came some very interesting redesigns of the Zords, creating their version of the Megazord, which was Bandai of America proudly boasting as one of their tallest Megazords at the time. It saw a deluxe release where the Zords were sold separately, an electronic articulated figure, and a Build-A-Figure for the Legacy figure line. This year also had a release of the Megazord Motion Alarm and the Mega Construx Megazord. In 2018, the Soul of Chogokin Megazord was re-released at San Diego Comic-Con in a black repaint that I like to call the Mint Chocolate Chip repaint. Tokyo Vinyl once again re-released their Megazord figure as a Target exclusive that was repainted in the Nerdist colors. Around this time, the Imaginext Megazord minifigure would have seen a black and gold repaint, but was cancelled, possibly due to Hasbro buying the brand, but we may never truly know. Speaking of buying the brand, 2019 was the first official year of Power Rangers under Hasbro in terms of merchandise and show, with Power Rangers Beast Morphers. Later that year was the release of the tabletop board game Heroes of the Grid, which would eventually include a few Megazord figures, one unpainted and another painted. Sometime this year would be the release of a Megazord inflatable Halloween costume and another version released in 2020. Speaking of 2020, Hasbro launched their Playskool Heroes Power Rangers line, starting off with a Mega Mighty's Megazord, which was a very stylized version with some limited articulation and for some reason was giving the people's eyebrow. Hasbro would then continue to release a budget-friendly transforming Megazord that was sold separately by Zord Packs, with the exception of Tyrannosaurus by itself. It also had an Amazon version, which was the only way you could buy all the Zords at once. All put together, the Megazord was very articulated. There was also a very less appealing Megazord that had a very basic paint job as you could get. On the third-party side of things, the company Black Seed made their own version of the Megazord in a combinable vinyl action figure called Giant Beast in their Power Raiders series, which looks really neat in my opinion. I love the Zaku eye on the Mastodon, and in this version, the Pterodactyl forms the head while the Tyrannosaurus forms the chest plate. It's also available in a weathered version. In 2021, the company Super 7 released the Super Cyborg Megazord quite a few times. There was a normal version, a clear version, and a clear red version as the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that year. The chest could be removed to show the Rangers in the cockpit, although it's in the wrong location. Also worth noting that the packaging used the Daijujin concept art, which was a nice detail. Super 7 would also release a 6-inch 5 points of articulation Megazord figure for the Reaction line. Devil Toys, Prolific 3D, and Quicks released the Mighty Danger Special Edition Nanotech vinyl figure. And also beginning in 2021, French company Altaïa started releasing their Build Your Own Megazord that is still going on as of this recording. It's a monthly magazine subscription that includes specific Megazord parts that you put together, including LEDs, and the end result is supposed to be the original Megazords, standing near 2 feet tall. So far it looks like a very solid release, and the Megazord looks really nice as well from the promotional items. It's scheduled to have a total of 120 issues spanning every month, which will take us into 2024 at this point. This whole concept and release format is very similar to the Build Your Own Enterprise D from the now defunct company Eagle Moss, which just got picked up by another company. Moving on to 2022, we saw the release of the Zord Ascension project, and its first release in the line was obviously the original Megazord, and it's had quite a mixed reception. It's Hasbro's take on doing legacy Megazords. It's done at a 1:144 scale, highly detailed and articulated, and supposedly based directly on the concept art, but I don't know what concept art they were looking at because some of it looks really off, and there are some artistic liberties that were taken, making it not as accurate as they claim. Also released in the Zap line was the highly controversial NFT Black and Gold version. Please don't support NFTs. Later that year, Walmart released 2 waves of their Retro Megazord line, and in those waves were the Megazord and Black and Gold Megazord. But that wasn't it for the Black and Gold Special Edition Megazord, as Super 7 released a reaction version as a PMC 2022 exclusive. Minimates also released the 2-pack of the Megazord and Dragazord for their Power Rangers line. Later in 2022, Super Mini-Pla Daijujin was re-released to celebrate 100 releases of Super Mini-Pla and Shokugan Modeling Project, which also saw the re-release of many other Super Sentai Robos. Now finally moving on to 2023. As of this video, we are due to have a Super 7 Ultimate Megazord, which really looks good in my opinion, and from the pics we've seen, it looks like it came right out of the show, with the proportions and overall look as close to the suit as possible. Also releasing later this year is the Flame Toys Furai Megazord Model Kit, which has the individual Dinozords combining to form it, as well as the Katakuri Combined Megazord, which is a reimagining of the iconic Megazord, has die-cast parts and individual Dinozords. Chinese company Lucky Cat recently announced the Microcosmos MC03 Beast Lord, which is a bunch of transforming blocks that become Dinozords and then form an articulated Megazord in action figure form, with some neat redesign choices. Before we end the merchandise part of this video, I need to quickly mention one of the most famous bootlegs of the Dino Megazord and Daijujin, which is the God Beast Megazord. It's seen some iterations throughout the last decade or so, and this had to be mentioned because it's literally a blatant ripoff of the design. And I'd be lying if I said it wasn't cool because it looks incredible. I'm not even sure if I nailed all the Megazord and Daijujin merchandise, but that's all I got. If there's anything I missed, definitely leave it in the comments below, and I'll either make a short or do something to supplement this video. In addition to the merchandise, the Megazord and Daijujin have had many video game appearances over the years. We're now going to move on to the fan segment portion of this video. What this is people within the fandom sharing what they love about the Megazord, and this will continue into all the other videos as well. I felt that this was a good idea and a good way to feature people and have them contribute to this project in some way, shape, or form. Especially for those who've been kind enough to have me on their videos, shows, and podcasts, etc. So this is a kind of a way for me to give back to them as well. So without further ado, let's begin the fan segment.
What's up everyone, it's Zach from Ranger Command Power Hour, and today I'm here to talk to you about the original Megazord. Daijujin as it's known in Sentai. This mecha was my first exposure to combining mecha when I was a kid. Nothing was cooler than 5 dinosaur robots combining into one and using a massive sword to cut down evil as it stands. I mean, I was right at the age where everything dinosaur was cool. You combine dinosaurs with robots and you have absolutely got the attention of every child in that age range. From the mastodon shield to the silver triangle tooth pattern on the chest, everything about this Megazord is iconic. Not to mention how strong the Megazord is. In its first appearance in Episode 4, it bodied both Goldar and King Sphinx. That was pretty freaking cool. And I mean really, the Megazord is just an allegory for teamwork, in that only by combining together do we stand a chance against the forces that challenge us. We're stronger together, and the Megazord just proves that. Now, I could talk about the Megazord all day, but it's time for me to give someone else a shot. So I just want to say thank you for having me on, Five, and as always, may the power protect you.
What do I love about the Dino Megazord? Its iconic status. There have been many giant robots in the children's media before, not on this scale. The overall design, the weaponry, the fact that it combines with other Zords to become an even stronger Megazord. It's all the great stuff that people want out of a show like this. This was kids' first gateway into the world of Toku, all thanks to a group of teenagers with attitude. It's the major highlight of every episode, especially during both the Doomsday and Iron Illusion 2-parters. Real intense moments when it's battling Goldar's Megazord and Lokar with very high stakes involved. And the Ultra Zord, that's when the real epic action begins and gets bigger, as well as more opportunities when the Thunder Zords come in. I'm sorry, no other giant robot before or since will ever have a huge cultural impact on children's media as the one brought in by the duo of Hamid Saban and Shuki Levy. In my opinion, you can't tell a great story while selling toys in the process. The Dino Megazord is the living proof of that. And then some. Pure greatness all around. Don't mess up. This is Power Rangers Max. Boom!
I think what I like most about the Megazord is how it's like, how the double arms are like just one Zord and they match equally. That's like a nice touch. I think that the pterodactyl is pretty neat, how it's like a chest piece and the wings fold together. The how the tails on like the Sabertooth and Triceratops, how they like sort of look like guns, but they sort of fold back into a design for the legs. I like how it also has like a tank mode. That was also what I was thinking of. The Sabertooth Zord is also kind of nice in how it's like so articulate and stuff in comparison to the Triceratops, where it's just a moving tank treads and moves a little more slowly. It's less articulate, I guess I could say, compared to the Sabertooth. But I think it's nice how it has like a dinosaur head, and when you get it back, it gets back up, and it sort of like turns into a head. That's nice. That's a good detail. I like the guns on the Mastodon. I think that's cool how they're in the soldier. That's a neat touch. It all just goes like together aesthetically compared to other mecha or Megazords. It's not as complex as later stuff, I think, especially in coming into the 2000s. I think. I guess that's it. That's all I have to say. Goodbye.
Thank you all so much for watching this. I can't wait to do more Zords and Megazords in the coming months. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And don't forget to bring your Dragon Daggers next time as we summon the Dragon Zord. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you all next time.